The thermostat displayed a temperature she could feel, but it wasn't real. The thermostat blinked in soft amber numbers, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Clara shivered. The heat from the radiator behind her was lukewarm at best, the winter air outside pressing against the windows, a dull draft she could almost feel under the seals. Yet the chill crawling over her shoulders and down her spine was immediate, undeniable. Goosebumps prickled her arms. Her fingers flexed and curled, seeking warmth that wasn't there. She approached the panel, fingertips hovering over the buttons. The numbers didn't change, but the sensation persisted. She could feel her breath fogging in the air despite the heater running steadily. Her cat, ordinarily curled by the radiator, had leapt to the center of the rug, fur bristled, staring at her as though aware of something invisible. "Odd," she whispered. The apartment was quiet, almost too quiet. The radiator hissed softly, the refrigerator hummed in the kitchen, but there was no draft, no actual cold. Yet the temperature in the room pressed against her skin with painful clarity. She touched the metal doorknob. The wood of the table beneath her palm? She could see her own breath curling in front of her face, curling and floating in slow spirals, though the thermometer said the apartment was normal. Her phone buzzed, a text from her sister. "Don't let the old house get to you." Clara stared at it, blinking. The message made her stomach tighten. The house, not her apartment. The words carried the memory of her grandmother's winter cabin, where she had spent too many nights shivering under heavy quilts while the thermostat stubbornly read warm. Her chest tightened further. The numbers on the panel flickered. 72, then 55, then 68 again. She recoiled as a rush of heat and cold washed over her. Her skin prickled. She could feel it traveling along her arms, her neck, even her scalp. But the air remained still. No gust of warm or icy wind stirred the room. The radiator remained silent. The apartment was ordinary, perfectly ordinary, but her body disagreed. Clara backed toward the living room, watching shadows stretch longer than they should in the flickering lamplight. The walls looked familiar, yet subtly wrong, lines of the wallpaper crooked, the baseboard slightly higher along the wall. She shook her head. She'd been here 1,000 times. She knew this apartment, and yet the thermostat's numbers adjusted themselves as if reading her mind. 62, 75, 59. Each shift was accompanied by the sensation, the pull, the burn, the chill, exactly where her fear wanted it. Clara sank onto the couch, wrapping her arms around herself. Memories pressed against her skull. The winter nights alone in her grandmother's cabin, the stove failing, the icy drafts seeping through cracks in the walls. She felt it again. The cold crawling up from her spine, the ache in her hands, the sting on her cheeks. The numbers climbed. 80, 84, 88. Her breath came in shallow gasps. The air around her remained still, yet sweat prickled her forehead. She ripped the blanket from the couch, but the warmth of the fabric did nothing. She was trapped between two realities. One measured by the numbers, the other measured by her own body, twisting in disbelief. The thermostat blinked again. 60. Instantly, the room felt hollow. The walls pressed inward. The air congealed around her skin. The lamplight dimmed. Shadows reached, elongating across the rug. Her cat hissed, first standing on end, then bolted under the sofa. Clara realized with a sick certainty. The temperature was responding to her. Her body's fear, her memories, her panic. They were feeding it. She stood, trembling, and began pacing. 68, 72, 55, 90. Each step triggered another wave along her skin. Each breath another spike of sensation. The thermostat blinked faster now, numbers shifting like a pulse. The apartment was no longer fixed. The walls grew taller, then shorter. The ceiling pressed down, then expanded. The space responded to her terror, manipulating her perception, rewriting the room around her. She tried to speak. "Stop. Stop it." The air resisted. Her words hung midair, cold and heavy, like droplets of water suspended by some invisible force. Her phone buzzed again, this time with no one messaging her. The screen showed only the number 68. Her eyes darted around. The radiator. She thought she'd turned it up before, but now it looked tiny, distant, almost toy-like. The windows were farther than before. The lamp was taller, its light dimmer. Her own reflection in the mirror of the closet door looked off. Her skin paler, her eyes wider, her mouth trembling unnaturally even when she wasn't moving it. A new sensation joined the cold and heat. A pull, a weight in her chest, a pressure that drew her attention to the thermostat. She approached it slowly. The numbers blinked again. 100. She gasped. Flames licked her vision, though no fire burned. The room shimmered as if molten, her floorboards bending like heat waves. She tried to pull away, but her legs would not obey. Then, 55. Cold, ice biting her arms. She clawed at the air, shivering violently. Her teeth chattering, though she felt no frost on the windowsill. The temperature did not measure reality. It measured her, and it did not stop. Clara pressed herself to the wall, trying to steady her breath. She thought of her childhood mistakes, moments she had buried, failures, arguments, regrets. The thermostat responded instantly, dialing each one into a visceral, physical sensation. Every memory became cold or hot, every shame or fear a sensation that coursed along her body with impossible intensity. Then it blinked, 0. The apartment disappeared. The walls vanished. The floor beneath her feet gave way to nothing but shifting white. Clara's chest heaved. She felt weightless, yet every fiber of her body screamed with sensation. The numbers climbed. 212. Fire enveloped her vision. She screamed. Her own voice burned in her throat. And then the display blinked one last time. 68. The apartment reappeared. Warm, quiet, ordinary. The radiator hummed gently. The windows were normal. The lamp glowed soft yellow. Clara's body shook uncontrollably. She collapsed to the floor. The thermostat read 68. She touched it lightly. The metal was warm, normal. Her cat returned, curling at her side. Everything seemed ordinary. And yet, she shivered, because somewhere deep inside, she knew the thermostat still remembered her, still felt her, and would remember again. The painting in the hallway changed expressions. Clara stopped mid-step, hand on the railing, staring. She had walked this hallway 100 times, always on her way to the bedrooms at the far end of the second floor. The narrow corridor smelled faintly of varnish and old wood, sunlight streaming through a high window casting pale rectangles across the floor. At the far end hung a painting she had known her entire life. A woman in a dark dress, face tilted slightly, lips pressed together, eyes calm. Always calm. Until now. The lips curved ever so slightly. A smirk, almost imperceptible. Her eyes widened, and the tilt of her head changed. Clara's pulse quickened. She blinked. The painting returned to its original expression. Serene, unreadable. "Am I imagining things?" she whispered. She stepped closer. The hallway stretched unnaturally long, though she knew it perfectly. The wooden floorboards groaned under her weight. Light from the window shifted across the walls, but the shadows of the painting did not change. And yet, there it was again. A twitch at the corner of the woman's mouth, a narrowing of her eyes, a subtle furrow in her brow. Clara spun around. No one was there. Her apartment was quiet, too quiet, with the usual hum of the radiator and the faint hiss of the pipes. Everything was normal. She took another step toward the painting. The figure's eyes followed her, or at least that's what it felt like. They narrowed again as she approached. Her stomach twisted. "It's just a trick of the light." She reached out, fingertips brushing the varnished surface. The painting shivered. Not the canvas, not the frame, but the expression itself, the subtle shift of lips and gaze. She jerked back. Her reflection in the polished banister trembled. The hallway seemed longer than it had moments ago. The shadows deeper. She turned away, trying to dismiss the feeling, but it clung to her like cold mist. Later that evening, she crept back to the hallway with a flashlight. The painting remained still under the beam. She exhaled, relieved. But when she looked again, the woman's lips were slightly parted, and her eyes glimmered with recognition. Recognition of what? Clara swallowed. She realized she could feel it, not just see the change, but feel it. An undercurrent of emotion, a pulse of longing, a tug at some memory she had buried. Her chest tightened. The hallway seemed to narrow. Light flickered through the window. Every step toward the painting felt heavier. She paused halfway, hand trembling. Smiled. Not the polite, painted smile she had known, but something sharper, colder. Clara's mind raced. Childhood memories bubbled to the surface. Arguments with her mother, moments of petty jealousy, secrets she had thought forgotten. The expression in the painting changed in concert, matching not her words, but her feelings. She stumbled back. The woman's eyes widened in mock horror as she backed away. Every emotion Clara felt rippled across the canvas, faster than her own comprehension. Rage, guilt, fear, shame. Each flicker of the painted face reflected it perfectly. Her pulse pounded in her ears. The hallway walls seemed to breathe, shrinking and expanding imperceptibly. She tried to look away. The painting followed her gaze. Clara sank to the floor, pressing her hands to her temples. Her own reflection in the window now mirrored the painting. Shadows darkened under her eyes, her lips curved unnaturally. And then she understood. The painting didn't just watch. It remembered. Her mother scolding her at age 6. Her father yelling at the dinner table. The stolen candy she had hidden behind the couch. The friend she had betrayed without thought. Each memory flashed in the painting, stitched into the woman's face. The longer she looked, the more it unfolded. Secrets she hadn't admitted even to herself, private thoughts she had believed erased. Her chest burned with cold. Her stomach knotted. She wanted to leave the hallway, to escape the relentless reflection, but every step backward lengthened the corridor. Each step forward shortened it. The geometry of the house twisted with her fear. Her phone buzzed, a message from her sister. Don't forget the painting. Clara froze. She hadn't told anyone she was home. Her sister couldn't know. The painting tilted its head. Its lips quivered. Her own reflection in the hallway mirrored the motion before her body could move. No, 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 she whispered. But her body obeyed. Her hand lifted, fingers stretched toward the canvas. The painting leaned slightly closer in response. The air around her thickened. Shadows pooled at the baseboards. Light stretched across the ceiling in unnatural angles. The expression of the woman in the painting twisted, half mocking, half pleading. And for a brief, horrified moment, Clara saw herself inside the eyes of the painted figure. Not her body, not her reflection, but her memories, her shame, her essence mirrored perfectly, trapped on canvas. She jerked her hand back. The painting's face returned to neutral, smiling politely, calm again. The hallway normalized, or so it seemed. Clara fled to the living room. The apartment appeared ordinary once more. The radiator hummed. The window framed a normal evening sky, and the painting in the hallway hung silently. She approached cautiously the next morning. In daylight, it seemed like any other portrait. A woman in a dark dress, lips pressed together, eyes calm. But she knew better. She could feel it in the walls, in the shadows, in the air. The painting remembered her still. At night, when she drifted toward sleep, she could hear the faint echo of footsteps along the hallway floorboards. And sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she swore the painting's lips curved in a subtle, cruel smile. It was patient. It was watching. And it waited for her to return.